Got everything. All right, welcome to Dave Talks Ball in this October 17th, 2024 episode. It's maybe the most fired up, folks, I've been for a Thursday night episode. You know how fired up I get for Thursday night episodes. It's prediction Thursdays every week. Love the preparation and love giving you my ultimate predictions. I mean, you see our prediction videos out each week between myself, Chris Phillips, and Cole Thompson as well. But I love bringing it because I don't get to preview in the SEC Unfiltered video-wise every game. But specifically in this one, I get to show you every prediction. We also have two phenomenal guests on Thursday. First, we have former Alabama player, now Crimson Tide Sports Network sideline reporter, Damion Square, going to join us around 8:15. We also got Horns 247, Chip Brown will join us to preview the big matchup in Austin this weekend. But we're going to get right to it, right before Damion joins us. We're going to get right to some predictions. I'm going to probably do about 2 or 3 of them out of the Big 7 matchups. Try to hold the Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Texas matchups after the interviews to the end. But let's get right to it. First, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com and use code SECU at signup to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 or more lineup. Guys, remember, use code SECU. But let's get right to it. Quickest we've ever got to some predictions. But we have guests today, guys. So we got to be a welcome. We got to show some hospitality. We got to show, hey, we're getting to our guest. I'm fired up for this. But let's knock out some predictions first. This is actually a game was not a part of the initial preview on the SEC Unfiltered, but Auburn at Missouri, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone on ESPN. Missouri -4, point total 49.5. Set the tone for you. Big game for both teams here. You watch Auburn, you don't really just see a bad football team. I mean, I don't see just a loaded team with a bunch of just NFL guys across the board, but it's just penalties and turnovers is what you're seeing. For Missouri, I mean, they've probably been one of the more underwhelming teams this year, and they got embarrassed in College Station. Now, all is not lost in Como. You win the next 2 games, and everyone will forget about the debacle in College Station. Let's call it spade a spade. What version do we see from both of these teams this week? Well, what's going to happen? We're changing up predictions up a little bit this week. Little path to victory for both teams. For Auburn, you got to limit the turnovers and mistakes, folks. Sounds simple, but it's the key to every football game. And that's the problem. You go flip on the film, and I go back and watch all these games, and you watch Auburn, and you're like, they're moving the football. They're putting yards up. They make plays defensively. They're just killing themselves with penalties and turnovers. I mean, against Georgia 2 weeks ago, they didn't have a turnover. They're coming off a bye week. They're due to play a good game. Jarquez Hunter has to be the guy this weekend. I think they need to lean on that run game. He's your best player on offense. I mean, probably Cam Coleman probably has the highest ceiling. But production level, who can go win you this game? I think it's going to come down to the run game. Jarquez Hunter has to be a part of this plan. For Missouri, path to victory. Missouri defensively has to get Auburn in 3rd and long situations. You got to take Jarquez Hunter out of the game. And I think also on offense, Brady Cook has to start playing well. He has to start hitting the shots. I think Luther Burden's going to play in this game. He's banged up a little bit, but I think he's going to play. I mean, who knows how that game against A&M would have went if you're Missouri right off the bat. If they go, again, when they have that pass interference, they waved off on Theo Weiss, I think with Will Lee. What if they score there? Things could be a little different. You could say that if, ands, and buts, if candy and nuts, whatever the saying is there. It's whatever. But Brady Cook has to start hitting plays deep. He's been off all year. I think this game comes down to who runs the football better. I think Missouri's been a little stubborn in their scheme. I like their outside zone run scheme, but they didn't do it at all against Texas A&M. They panicked. Maybe they settle in. But for some reason, Auburn off a bye week, back-to-back road games. They have to get one of these at Missouri or at Kentucky coming up before they host Vanderbilt again. Remember, they've been away from Jordan-Hare for about a month, coming off a bye week. Something tells me Auburn plays well this week. Give me Auburn, 28-20. Call me crazy. I mean, the line isn't too high. I mean, it's -4. I just think Auburn plays well this week, coming off the bye week. I mean, I know Missouri ain't coming off some big physical game. They played at UMass. Again, who the hell scheduled that? But they did. It's not a real bye week for them. If it was at home against UMass, I may consider it a little bit. But you did have to travel. But I think Auburn just plays well this week. I think they get the run game going, limit mistakes, build off the 0 turnovers against Georgia. Give me Hugh Freeze and the boys getting right this week. Next, South Carolina at Oklahoma. Oklahoma currently favored by 1.5. The point total 41.5. in this game right now, setting the tone for you. Big game for both teams for different reasons, in my opinion. Shane Beamer needs it for this year, but I think long-term, what would a loss look like for Brent Venables against South Carolina at home? I mean, shoot. I mean, Shane Beamer is the former tight ends coach there under Lincoln Riley. But I think Oklahoma fans accept Texas is better than them this year. I think they accept the loss to Tennessee this year. I don't care if you watch the film, and right now I do think South Carolina is a better team than Oklahoma. But if you're an Oklahoma fan, you do not lose to South Carolina at home. It's just a perception as a reality thing. They will not take that well. Oklahoma, let's call a spade, has had terrible injury luck this year. There's no way to sugarcoat that. But at the same time, the offense has been really bad, and that starts with Seth Luttrell and Brent Venables. You got to have some kind of, again, Michael Hawkins getting the start this week. Maybe we see some kind of Jackson Arnold. I mean, if Michael Hawkins isn't getting it done in the first half, I feel like you have to move to Jackson Arnold. I would have given Jackson Arnold a shot last week. Michael Hawkins, again, true freshman, not really his fault. He just looked like a deer in headlights last week against a good Texas defense and Pete Kwiatkowski, who had a good game plan. I think they anticipated Oklahoma moving the pocket on the outside and make it and Michael Hawkins trying to make plays with his legs. And he did at times, but he turned it over as well. Do we see Jackson Arnold? I think we do. But I think South Carolina better than the record shows. They come in 3-3. It feels like Oklahoma's worse, but they're only 4-2. I mean, I saw Danny Stutzman mention that. Is that people are panicking, but we're only 4-2, and that's true. But the defense, just like Alabama's been good, but the offense leaves a lot to be desired. This is a bowl eligibility game, folks. This is a bowl eligibility game. But what's going to happen? Path to victory for South Carolina. Lenore Sellers obviously cannot turn the football over. That's an obvious. But he's going to make a couple big plays in this game. I'm talking about explosive runs or explosive pass. I mean, Oklahoma's defense, they're good. They're good on defense. They're desperate. This isn't a be careful game to me if you're South Carolina and Dow Loggins. This isn't. You aren't that good on offense to not make mistakes and just expect Oklahoma, your defense, to shut down Oklahoma. Generate, I think, the key number, 4 to 5 explosive plays, either through the air or ground, or sea. I'm kidding there. But through the air or ground, I think South Carolina needs about 4 to 5 explosive plays to feel good about their chances. I think they can get it done, but they do not need to just sit on their laurels and be like, hey, Oklahoma can't score against us. They need to be aggressive. For Oklahoma, path to victory, force turnovers. I'm serious. The offense has literally nothing to hang its hat on right now. Some of that's injuries, but Jackson Arnold is second in rushing for Oklahoma and hasn't played in 2.5 games, and he's tied for rushing touchdowns. Let that sink in. He's second in rushing yards for Oklahoma right now. Hasn't played in 2.5 games. He's also tied for rushing touchdowns. Again, hasn't played in 2.5 games. Some of it's Seth Luttrell and some of it isn't because, again, injuries. But it is what it is. If I'm Brent Venables, you have to be aggressive on defense and try to win the field position battle and turnover battle. The offense is not going to drive the field consistently on this Carolina defense. If I'm Zach Alley, Brent Venables, I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to try to force Lenore Sellers to have multiple turnovers again. Remember, Alabama last week forced South Carolina to turn the football over 4 times. I think Oklahoma needs something similar to that, and they're capable. But at the end of the day, folks, I just trust South Carolina's offense to generate a couple more explosive plays, a couple more consistent drives. Turnovers could be the great equalizer, though, for the Sooners, folks. But trust is key. And I think South Carolina needs it more this year. Bad loss for Brent Venables. Give me the Gamecocks, 20-14. I don't see the Oklahoma offense generating multiple drives, either explosive plays or consistent drives across the board without making mistakes. I just don't. It would not. I kind of expect to see Jackson Arnold at some point because this is a good South Carolina defense, really at all 3 levels, especially up front on the defensive line. Give me the Gamecocks, 20-14 across the board on this one. Let's get one more prediction in for Damion. Texas A&M at Mississippi State, 4:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone on the SEC Network. A&M favored by 16.5, point total 55.5. Setting the tone for you folks. A&M comes in this one off a bye with very high aspirations. People are already in conversation talking about what this Texas game could mean. We could see Texas and Texas A&M play back-to-back weeks potentially right now. But let's don't get ahead of ourselves. I know Mississippi State isn't very good, but this is an SEC road game, and no one on A&M's roster has a winning record against Mississippi State. Remember, Jimbo never beat the 2 Mississippi schools, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, in the same year. Texas A&M has not had a lot of success against Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Or, I mean, they don't play Ole Miss this year, but really against Mississippi State since they've been in the league. A&M has to be a mature team coming in this one, because if you let a below-average team hang around at home, anything can happen in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's a coin flip, guys. So Mike Elko and his staff's thinking like, hey, guys, we got to get them out of the game by the third quarter, because in the fourth quarter, on the road, first-year head coach, anything can happen for State. Let's build off the road trips to Texas and Georgia. I thought you played well. You put up 31 points against a solid Georgia defense. Again, not up to Georgia's standard defense. We'll talk about that later. But again, I thought it was impressive for a true freshman, Michael Van Buren, the Baltimore native. I love this film from St. Francis High School. I think he could be the future for Mississippi State. But things aren't great, but you have some things to hang on your hat. Toledo feels like a long time ago. I mean, it's still not great. You're not going to get to a bowl game. But let's go see if you can build on some things. You're hosting your first SEC, your second SEC home game. Remember, you had Florida. But again, a team you've had success against in Start Bowl. But what's going to happen? Path to victory for Texas A&M. Look, I know the passing game still needs to be developed with Connor Wigman. You still need some guys with Janae Walker to step up. Noah Thomas. Let's get them some reps with Connor Wigman being back full time. And that should happen this week. But let's don't turn the ball over. That is how you get beat on the road against teams you're better than. And let's call a spade a spade. A&M is better than Mississippi State. Get Connor Wigman some early throws to settle him in. Let him know you're going to work some shots in late. I think you got to be up front with that with him. Like, hey, don't get excited. Take what's in front of you. We're going to establish the run here with Le'Veon Moss, Armani Daniels. You need to set that up there. Let's establish the run to set up the pass. That will be what gets you excited off the bye week if you're an A&M fan. Mississippi State, path to victory. A&M's going to have to help you if you're Mississippi State. Let's call a spade a spade. But Michael Van Buren has shown he can make plays against good competition. Going back, I thought he played solid against at Texas and at Georgia. And if I'm Coleman Hutzler, Mississippi State defensive coordinator, you have to sell out on the run and see if you can get Connor Wigman to get a little impatient, get excited off what he did against Missouri. Maybe he wants to go put it away early. See if he can turn it over, give you some short fields. You have to be aggressive on both sides of the football. You have nothing to lose if you're Jeff Levy and Coleman Hutzler. Just let it all loose. That is the key to victory there. But I think A&M may start off slow. But Mike Elko, too good of a football coach, and will have his team ready to win and start on Saturday afternoon. He's been in that building before after a Mississippi State loss. He knows how sneaky this can be. He knows if you let a team that you're better than at home hang around into the fourth quarter, it can go any way. He will preach all week how tough this game's going to be and how A&M and anyone on that roster has not had success against Mississippi State. May not be a complete mauling, as some would say, but I think A&M gets a comfortable win to set up a key matchup next week at Kyle Field against LSU. But you cannot overlook this game. Give me something A&M. Give me something A&M. Let's go 34-14. 34-14, I think, in this one across the board. Mayhem Matthew, he's going 45-17 there. Yeah, I do think A&M gets the dub here. I think A&M certainly gets the dub here. Let's go move on to one more game before we get Damion on. The LSU at Arkansas matchup, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. Believe this one is on. Let's make sure. Yep, on ESPN Family and Networks. LSU currently favored by 2.5 point total at 55.5, folks. Set the tone for you. Sleepy game in Fayetteville. Well, I don't think it is, but sleepy game for LSU potentially. Emotional win against Ole Miss last week where you never led until the very end, until the game was over and you won. Can Brian Kelly and this LSU team put that game to the side now, go and try and handle business in Fayetteville this week? Arkansas coming off a bye after a big win over Tennessee themselves. How did they handle the bye week? I expect a good gameplay from Travis Williams and Bobby Petrino. Arkansas could easily be 6-0, 5-1 at worst right now. Again, Arkansas had to get wins early. Could this be another one that a lot of people did not predict heading into the season? And what is the health of Taylor Green? I talked to some people at Arkansas. They said he would have played last week. I think it's a bone bruise. So I'm not expecting him to be 100%. And we'll see how that factors in because the bone bruise just didn't heal over 2 weeks. He didn't play much of the fourth quarter in the Tennessee game. Malachi Singleton got in. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I hear he is definitely playing. But what's going to happen? Path to victory for LSU here. Be aggressive. Try to force Taylor Green into mistakes. I think that's what you got to do. Blake Baker, it's in his DNA to be aggressive here. So I expect that. I thought the LSU defense played really well last week. Can they match that emotional intensity next week? And then if I'm LSU, you got to mass protect. I think Travis Williams, I think Sam Pittman said it at SEC Media Days. He was in, I think he had 60 snaps and cover 0 last year. Travis Williams said he likes to bring pressure, expect it against an LSU offensive line that does not give up many sacks. They give up none against Ole Miss. They won against South Carolina. They give up one all year with Will Campbell and Emory Jones out there. Now, I think T. Will is going to bring 5 or 6. He's going to outmatch them numbers-wise. I think for LSU, you got to set the Mason Taylors in there and protect. Give Garrett Nussmeier some time in there because I think guys like Tyron Lacey, they can get C.J. Daniels back. I think Mason Taylor can win his matchups in one-on-one against this Arkansas secondary. I don't know if Arkansas can play as well as they did against Tennessee on the back end. Path to victory for Arkansas, though, the home team. Taylon Green. He's going to have to be hot again. He's going to have the hot hand again. He's going to have to play well. I think very similar to Alabama, they put a lot of pressure on him. I think you have to challenge the LSU defensive front, though, at the same time with Jaquindon Jackson. I mean, honestly, I think Jaquindon Jackson, Rocket Sanders are the best yards after contact running backs in this league. They're very good at falling forward and picking up positive yardage to keep you on schedule. That's important, folks. It's hard to go get 10 to 12 play drives consistently. It's a lot of plays to ask 11 guys on offense to not make mistakes. If you're falling forward like those two guys, specifically Jaquindon Jackson in this game, you got to feel good about that. You pick and choose when you're aggressive, though. You can't go wholesale against Garrett Nussmeier here. You can't, or he'll pick you apart. They'll adjust to that. This game, I'm telling you, it's wild. I'm going bold this week. I think Arkansas at home off an emotional win for LSU. Give me Arkansas some way, somehow, 29-26 win. Again, there's only been 2 teams that have had true back-to-back road trips in the SEC since 2019. They've won both. It's 2019 LSU who won it all. 2021 Georgia who won it all. LSU has that challenge the next 2 weeks. I think they slip up week 1. Give me Arkansas, 29-26 in a big one in Fayetteville. But let's get to our guy, Damion Square. Let me pull him up in here. Let me pull up the – Damion, what's going on, brother?
What's up, my guy?
What's up, man? I appreciate you joining us here, man. I've been hyping up everybody. We got some fantastic guests. You're leading us off, man. You're the leadoff batter tonight. But let me introduce you for the people who don't know you. Damion Square, former Alabama defensive lineman from 2008 to 2012. You got there the same year I there. Me and you were 2008 there. 3-time national champion. Won it in 09, 11, 12. 9-year NFL career with the Chiefs, Chargers, Saints, Bears, Raiders, Bengals. Now he is the sideline reporter for Alabama football in the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Go give our guy the follow at SquareBoy92. Damion, again, I appreciate you joining us, brother. How's everything going?
Life is good, man. I'm out here in Houston, Texas, and they finally decided to turn the AC on down here, man. So the weather is getting a little better, and just enjoying myself down here in Houston, man. It's been hot as you know what. So today, the weather kind of got into the 70s, man. So just enjoying myself.
You're a Yates guy, right?
Yeah, I am a Yates guy.
I told you when I reached out to C. Stu. So I worked in Alabama in football there. So I remember I wasn't there when you saw. I started working there at 11, but I do remember I grew up family with big Alabama people. So I'd go to games, followed recruiting. I remember you came down to what, A&M in Bama?
It came down to A&M and Bama. I had an older brother that went to the University of Miami, but Miami was kind of like just about to come down with the sanctions after all of that stuff, you know, that they did with the booster there. So it came down to A&M and A&M and Bama for me, man. And I chose Bama because my defensive line coach in high school played for Nick at LSU. So
who was that?
I was kind of learning some of the same things. It was a guy named Jeff Caesar. Yeah. So that's how that came down. He was teaching some of the stuff that Pete Jenkins, who was kind of teaching the 2-gap system, you know, and kind of went there because everything kind of flowed with each other, you know.
So D Square, tell me, how has the adjustment been from the player? How you been enjoying everything before we obviously talk Alabama Tennessee? How you been enjoying the sideline stuff, man? Yeah, I've been listening to you. Had a couple of buddies, even some guys I went to school with at Alabama, talk about how you've been doing a good job, man. So how's that transition been for you? You enjoying it?
It's been a challenge, you know what I mean? And I like a challenge, man. Anything that makes me uncomfortable, you know, usually elevates me, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. I've been trying to get into a few uncomfortable spots, you know, now that I'm out of ball, man, just things that can challenge me. And when I started off, of course, I was kind of moving a little too fast, but now that I'm, you know, kind of understanding how to, you know, to take things through the headphones and They let me know when they're gonna come to me, and I kind of know some of the topics that I'm gonna talk about beforehand. Everything is kind of becoming smooth, and with Chris Stewart, you know, he just makes it really easy, I would say, in how he just kind of comforts me and lets me know that he got me. He's gonna, guide me through this until I, become comfortable enough to do it myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. You've been doing a really good job, and I appreciate the passion you bring on there. Well, they threw it to you on the sideline. I went back and watched the video. They threw it to you on the sideline, and you could tell you had that player in you still, and you're like, hey, somebody's got to come down here and make a play, man.
Somebody got to.
That's all it is.
And that's the hard part, man. Is I'm such a fan. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
heart, the Tide is so dear to my heart, man, and it's so, I kind of struggle when those guys struggle, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I got a job to do, so it's a thin line between love and hate, you know what I mean? So I got to, pay attention to the things that's coming through the earphones. But at the same time, I'm screaming at Jalen Milroe because he's letting the clock run all the way down to 0 and he's getting sacked in the game, man. So like I said, man, it's just, a lot of emotions going on, man. But most of all, I enjoy doing what I do, and I haven't, messed it up yet, man. So hopefully they keep me around.
So you mentioned how much dear to your heart the Tide is. So you were a part of that. We talked about it briefly just a minute ago. That 2008 recruiting class that, I think most would agree with me. I don't even think this is that bold of a statement. It was the foundational class of what Nick Saban had turned Alabama into the last 17 years. It was you, Julio Jones, Mark Ingram, Mark Barron, et cetera. You keep naming some guys. Y'all were the foundational class, obviously. What do you think made the difference with that class? Do you think it was just a bunch of, for lack of a better term, kind of just some dogs that rolled into that class and were kind of like, hey, Alabama wasn't great when we arrived, but y'all were the ones, again, in 08 when the SEC West got it started. What do you think was what was the edge that kind of separated y'all, you feel like?
The best way to explain it is sometimes really good guys end up in the bar together, you know what I mean? And I think that's just what happened, man. Alabama wasn't on top, when it came to just performing, before we got there. They had DJ Hall. He was a really big name on campus, and Wallace Gilberry. But besides that, you had John Parker, who was kind of an in-state guy, but none of those guys were national names. You know what I mean? Actually, I think nobody from that team got drafted into the NFL draft. I think they went draftless, that year, which is crazy.
Saban's first draft.
Which is crazy to think about, at the University of Alabama, considering what it's become now. And Wallace Gilberry ended up playing a lot of years in the league. I think John Parker had a little time at Atlanta, and I need to put that in there so I won't, be trashing those guys too much, man. But I would say the difference is, man, getting recruited was awesome with those guys, man. Just the chemistry, man. Julio, I remember getting recruited with Julio, man, and he's just such a good dude. Mark coming from Flint, me coming from Houston, Robbie Green coming from New Orleans. We all just had something in common, and I think it was just greatness. We were guys that just, wanted to be great, wanted to leave a legacy, wherever we went. And I was raised a big Miami guy, you know what I mean? I wasn't, necessarily brought up, on Alabama football, but I told you the relationship, that kind of, made me pay attention to Alabama. But just, coming from, the whole thing and what was happening with them, my brother played at a time that program was really, really high, and they were winning a lot of games with Bush Davis, with Ed Reed, with Andre Johnson. You could just go on and on, man. So I could only dream about being a part of something like that. You know what I mean? And to go to the University of Alabama and for that to become what we established. I can't even explain to you how that makes me feel. Sometimes I can't even believe that I was a part of it. You know what I mean? I can't even believe that I was there. I still go to that university and I experience the level of excitement that's there now. And I can't believe that I was a part of the building blocks of creating something that's just godly. You know what I mean? When you go there and you feel the energy in the stadium, you feel the fans outside, you feel the pride that they have and how sick they get about losing, man, to know that the year before we get there, I think they won 4 games.
Yeah, 7. That was the year Coach Saban lost to ULM.
Well, y'all lost to ULM, whatever it was. But they, lost to Georgia. I remember getting recruited, going to the game where they lost to Georgia with no Sean Marino jump in the stands and start directing the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now that's a thing of the past. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm so grateful that I was there at the right time. I made the right decision at the right time, right? Life is all about decisions and when you make them. And I made that decision at that time to be a part of that group, man. And I'm still me being on this show with you here today is because I was a part of that group. And like I said, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, you bring up a standard again. Y'all are the foundational piece. Y'all set the standard of what everybody expects Alabama. A generation of Alabama fans expect it to be now. What's it been like for you? I want to ask you this, and it's kind of a toe in the line question here. You were a part of some phenomenal defenses. I mean, arguably the 2011 defense goes down is one of the greatest of all time. Offenses are a little different now, as you know. It's more of an open spatial game. But
No doubt.
what has it been like for you to see a little bit of that standard defensively decline a little bit for different reasons we're not going to go into, but just surface level? How does that make you feel when you get a front row seat to it every Saturday so far?
Well, because you're my guy, I'm gonna give you the honest truth. Painful. It's painful. I can't lie to you, man. It's painful because I mean we were so gritty. You know what I mean? I played with Courtney Upshaw, and I can't even tell you how mean this guy was. You know what I mean? And people thought it was just on Saturdays. Now, this man was like that Monday through Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's painful, but I also know that, like I said, I was raised in the University of Miami guy rooting for the Kings, and I saw that dynasty come and go. Now, ours has lasted a lot longer, and I like to say that because I got a brother that likes to talk a little bit, you know. But what I will say is, and I'm not saying that it's over, I'm just saying that everything has to make adjustments. I remember, you know, when Nick makes the adjustment with Henry Ruggs and get those type of guys in the program and kind of opens up the offense, you know what I mean? And changes the way that Alabama plays offensive football so that he can recruit, you know, a different type of guy, you know what I mean? So just like that, defense, same way, you know what I mean? I just think that this is, you know, a change or, you know, an adjustment that's happening with our defense. We probably haven't recruited, you know, exactly who we want to fill in these roles and participate in this defense. You know what I mean? Right now, you still got guys that Nick recruited that was a part of two gap defenses. You know what I mean? That
Womack's running the one gap. Yeah,
Womack's running the one gap. So some of the flaws that you see is just the transition that, you know, you get when you change in the style of guy that you're recruiting to fulfill these roles. You know what I mean? And you can go to the transfer portal and, you know, you can do all you can there, but at the same time, chemistry is chemistry, and defense is like 100% chemistry if you're going to play defense at a high level and play defense that wins championships. So like I said, just these guys need to spend a little more time together. I think a few more recruiting classes will get the right guys in place. Like I said, the right tools in place for this job. You know what I mean? And I think once you get the right tools for this job, they're going to start to get this job done better and better. So I believe in them, man. You know, I'm not going to curse them just yet. They found the way to win a game. You know, last week, they found a way to end the game with the ball in their hands. And I cannot take away how important that is. So hats off to those guys for finding a way after all of that mess in that game to find a way to end the ball with the game in their hand. And hopefully they can grow from that, you know?
Absolutely. Damion Square joining us, and give him the follow at SquareBoy92. D Square, I want to ask you just a few more questions before we get you out of here. Appreciate you joining us. Hope you have safe travels to Knoxville this week. I was going to, so everybody, I mean, if you follow Alabama football, knows you as the guy in that hype video. Well, I mean, dude, if that can't get you fired up, what was that? Was that before the 09 LSU game?
Man, yeah, that was before the LSU game,
Dude,
man.
What is the best hype pregame speech you remember in your time in Alabama? It may not even been from you. I mean, that one would be tough. I wanted to start it off with the show, but if it wasn't that to you, who was it? What's kind of the context around that, if you don't mind sharing?
I mean, so if I was to tell you that somebody gave the team better hype speeches than me, I would be lying to you, and I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
I was, you know, I come from preachers. So my, PSA is a little different, than others. So I tend to fall into that role. I always did when I was a kid as well. So I embraced it. You know what I mean? Even when I got to the league, man, I played on teams with Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates. I mean, these guys are my
Legend.
first Hall of Famers, and they even gave me that stage. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is my
My
position.
niche.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But guys, believe it or not, it was the guys that said the least that had the best speeches, like Mark Barron,
Yeah.
who I wouldn't say it was speeches. It was the guys that didn't speak when they spoke. Those were the best times because Mark didn't speak all the times. A lot of times he was self-motivated and he motivated with his play. CJ Mosley, another guy like that, just kind of, played his, what off, and, he motivated us like that. But whenever those guys would take the opportunity to stand in front of the team and, speak words of accountability, those were the best days for me because I knew it was a special night when I could hear Mark Barron speak before the game. You know what I mean? Mark Barron was literally like the Undertaker. He said nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, he did, dude. I remember them asking. You remember this? They did that ESPN like Summer Days showing y'all after the 09 season, and they just asked Mark Barron like, "What is your favorite thing about playing at Alabama?" And he just sits there for 5 seconds, and all he says is, "Winning."
Yeah,
exactly.
So that was Mark all the way, man. And then he went out there and knocked people's souls off their body. You know what I mean?
Jordan Rodgers is still feeling it.
Yeah, exactly. Like this guy hit people so hard. I mean, he has that hit, and then he got another hit in the North Texas game.
Yeah.
When he hit oh my God. I was in the opposite A gap. I heard that hit. I don't know what happened to the man on the other side of me, but he was not there when I got over there. Like he was gone. But Mark, so that's what I would say, man. When rare guys spoke, I'm outspoken, I'm animated, I'm gonna get up before the game. You're gonna hear me, you know what I mean? Because I like to speak accountability into the guys that I'm about to go perform with. And I also like to see it reflected, to make sure that those guys are ready. That's just who I am. But like I said, the energy, when I got big energy when guys like Mark Barron stood in front of the team, because that was rare, to get a guy like him to speak. Rolando McClain was another guy that really got me fired up when he spoke. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Transitioning to this game Saturday, and honestly, this game just in general, third Saturday in October, as people know it is the rivalry. What did this game mean to you, D Square, and what does it still mean to you now that you're back in Tuscaloosa, really full? I know you're in Houston now, but back full time working with the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
I mean, anytime we can beat the snitches, we got to beat them, man. You got to beat them, man.
You know what? 5-0.
Yeah, 5-0, man. It wasn't a problem. They came down to Tuscaloosa one time and gave us a scare, but unfortunately, we had Mount Cody in front of the field goal post, so they they couldn't get the ball through the uprights. But Lane was the coach at that time, right?
Lane. Yeah, that was his solo dolo year there.
Yeah, that was Lane's solo dolo year there, and they were playing some good ball. I remember Monterio Hardesty was the running back, and he was solid. He was really
good game that day. Yeah,
he had a good game that day. So that was about the only time we had a scare. Other than that, we went and grabbed them by the collar like you do with dogs, right? So, but this game does mean a lot to me, man. And the reason why it does mean a lot to me now more than ever is playing on the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because guys from Tennessee, bragging rights, man. Guys from Tennessee carry big pride, and guys from Alabama.
Players you play with in the NFL, former Tennessee.
Play with Tyler Bray. Yeah.
I played with him in Alabama, though. He was a quarterback there for 2 years, 3 years when you were there.
Yeah, he was. And then I played in Kansas City with him. He was the backup to Alex Smith.
Got you.
Yeah, for a little while. He was like one of the three guys there. I played with Eric Berry.
Kansas City.
And one of my personal favorite from Tennessee. Probably the only guy that I give respect. I knew, which is crazy, I knew Jansen Jackson really well.
I remember him. He's from Louisiana, kid.
He's from Louisiana. I recruited him at Alabama really heavy, and then he ended up going to Tennessee to follow Eric Berry.
Yeah.
Cordero Patterson, another guy who's, in my opinion, one of the best to come out of Tennessee, and people don't give him enough credit, and he's still in the league making big plays. You know what I mean? But it's just a real good night. And I love beating Tennessee at Tennessee. Like, it's one thing to beat them in Tuscaloosa, but it's just special to beat them in Tennessee, man. It smells. You can smell those good onion rings in the air. They're
Yeah.
eating really good in the stadium. That stadium always has a really good aroma of good food. I don't know what they're cooking in there,
Then you
but
mix it with cigar a little bit.
again, then you mix a little cigar, and then not only that, when you look at like the old Tennessee Alabama pictures with like Gene Stallings and like
Yeah, yeah.
the locker room, when you go to Tennessee's away locker room, it still look like that. So it just kind of seems like when
Like
you
that
light up,
retro feel.
yeah, you know what I mean. So it Bama, kind of upgraded a little bit, but Tennessee kind of still got the old lockers and the
Yeah, that
old.
locker room's tight and
It's
congested.
tight and it's I
I've
mean
been there, yeah.
it's about as old school as it get, man. So when you come back in there and you get a victory and you get to do the victory speech in there and light up the cigars in there, it just feels a little different. My bad, man.
No, you're
But
good.
but yeah, that game means a lot to me, and I hope we can keep it going. I think 16 out of the last 17 times.
Yep, 22 was the first time since '07. Coach Saban lost one time to him. I think he's 16-1.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we can keep that going, and I did not like that at all, man. So we owe him one for that one for real.
Saturday's matchup specifically, what are some advantages you like Alabama, and what's some things you think Bama is going to have to shore up if they want to leave? I mean, you talked about if they want to have the pictures with Coach DeBoer and them in that retro locker room. You talked about
Alabama they have to clean up their down defense. They will not continue to survive in the SEC playing the way that they've been playing on third downs. And also, Alabama has to find a way to own time of possession. I do not think that they can beat this Tennessee team if they don't win time of possession in this stadium as well. So I think it's important for them to get off the field when they can. You got to defeat this guy early. This guy has big capabilities, man, the quarterback. You know, sometimes he does some young things, and then sometimes you see him make some plays that look like he's been playing college football for a long time, and also look like he's going to go play on the next level next year. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
this guy's just kind of all over the place with it, but he looks really good, and he's also a roller coaster guy. If he's having a good day, if you let him come out there and gain confidence, he'll come out there and torture us. You know what I mean? So we cannot give him all the chances to win the game that we gave Lenore Sellers last week. I think that this guy finds a way to win that football game last week if we put him in the same situation. So I think it's important to keep the ball in Jalen's hand. I think it's important for offense to play complementary. I think Alabama has really struggled with complementary football. I think Nick Saban was one of the best complementary football coaches ever.
Shoot D Square, you saw it personally. I mean, it's a little off topic. I didn't even have this as a question for you. But I think the team in the conference right now probably plays the best complementary football. You saw it firsthand 2 weeks ago. Vanderbilt. I mean,
no doubt about it.
Talk about Vanderbilt's
no doubt about it.
But the defense doesn't play. I mean, where Bama couldn't go get into Vanderbilt's depth defensively because they played 45, 50 snaps. I mean, that offense protects that defense too.
No doubt. No doubt. So Alabama has to find a way to take a little bit from that and play more complementary football. Yeah. I think, that was one of our biggest attributes when I played at the University of Alabama. I think nobody was better than us at that in the country. I think it was teams that were better than us. I think I played against some Georgia football teams that were better than us. But we played better complementary football, and we knew exactly how to do that. And you can beat some teams that you're not supposed to beat when you understand that chemistry. You know what I mean? So I think Alabama has to find a way to call offensive games that complement the defense that they're playing, because it is way too off balanced. I mean, it's not even close in the last 2 weeks the last two, Vanderbilt, and then the South Carolina game. It's not even close. It's the time of possession is just so lopsided, and they got to find a way to close that gap. They have to.
No, you're right. I mean, it feels like the defense gets a lot of like the negative pub, but it's also the offense has been a little boom or bust, and it hadn't allowed the defense to get, or the offense hasn't won some field position battles where you may not score, but don't go 3 and out. Let's go get some yardage and let's
absolutely not, man. And then they go, like you said, man, the defense will get drugged down the field for 12, 13 play drive. You go out there and you throw 3 passes and
They're
they're back
right
on
back
the
on the
field,
field.
man. And like I said, we're still in a recruiting transition on the defensive side of the ball. You know, if you ask me, like I said, trying to get the right tools to get the job done. So you have to protect them by putting the ball in the best 2 backs in the country's hand. I truthfully believe that.
That's what's been wild about the running game outside of Milrow is
Yeah,
it's like you have 2 really good running backs in Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. I mean, it's not like you're thin back there, kind of like Georgia is now. They beat up. You have 2, like you said, legitimate. Could argue maybe the best duo in the league, if you want to be honest.
that's how I feel about it. And then when he was at Washington, he found the way to put the ball in the running back's belly. I mean, they had a great back at
Dylan
Washington.
Johnson,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So I want to see a little bit more of that. You know, I think he got a little more in the tank, you know, when it comes to just calling plays and things like that. Um, I know that Alabama doesn't play another offense or defense that is not top 50 in college football, you know, for the remaining of the schedule, man. So when you look at that and you look at how they've been playing ball, they definitely need to tighten it up. But I trust in the Tide. They know where they're at. I trust in the coaches, and I trust that they'll tighten it up, man.
perfect. But Damion, I appreciate you joining us, man. I know Thursday night, right before a travel day for you, getting to Knoxville. Wish you safe travels, guys. Damion Square, former Alabama defensive lineman, now with the Crimson Tide Sports Network as the sideline reporter. 3-time national champion in 09, 11, 12 at Alabama. He was there the same time I was there.
Yes, sir.
And then multi-year, 9-year NFL veteran, man. You've seen it all. Damion, I appreciate you taking the time, man.
Hey, thank you, man. Get back at me anytime, man. Please.
Will do, man. Have a good night.
All right, bro.
Later, brother. Again, Damion Square joined us, guys. Did a phenomenal job. D Square waited his turn a lot out. He redshirted 08, didn't play a lot in 09, but really kind of started to come on in 2010, 11, 12, was a key catalyst in those 2 back-to-back national championship teams in 11 and 12 for Alabama up front. Most people in the NFL probably remember him with his time with the Chargers. As you mentioned, he talked about Philip Rivers, Antonio Gates, and them kind of giving him that microphone, that platform of being kind of the motivational speaker. And if you haven't seen the motivational speech, hell, I'll pull it up for us right now while we wait for Chip. We got Chip coming on in about 3 minutes to preview the Texas Georgia game. Sorry. Let's do Damion Square. I wanted to pull this up. Hype speech. Pull it up for y'all folks. I'll share it on the screen. All right, here we go. Let me share it. Present. Share screen. There we go. All right, let me play it for you. Let me get it loud. This is Damion's pregame speech. We brought it up before the 09 LSU game. Again, he was in that key class with Julio Jones, Mark Barron, Mark Ingram, guys like that. He was the hype guy. He was the tone setter. Pretty intense right here.
And the man on the field got to see me. I'm going to choke his ass out. Go. It ain't no fight. He's the next man on the motherfucking schedule. Let's go. We Bama, that's what we do. Yes, sir. Talk that shit, they scared. We ain't talking no shit. That's the routine. That's how we do it. Yes, sir. Change today. I promise you that shit. They may look like they want it, but I guarantee you, he don't want it. They gonna find out. I'm gonna let him know he don't want it.
Yeah, that's kind of the intensity Damion brought to that defensive line. Again, big leader on a lot of those Alabama teams in Nick Saban's prime days. Really, the core class, that 2008 class, was the core to kind of get the Alabama program off the ground under Nick Saban. Let's go to some comments while we wait for our guy Chip Brown from Horns 247 to talk a little Georgia, Texas. On to the gray, baby. Better late than never. I have a single seat for the lower bowl in Norman on Saturday, free for someone who wants it, using my upper deck seating this weekend. He's talking about the Oklahoma-South Carolina game. If any Sooner fans, Carolina fans need tickets, on to the gray. He has a single seat for the lower bowl in Norman on Saturday for free. He's just trying to get some of his – probably wouldn't want to give that free ticket to the Scarlet and Black. Scarlet and White, you don't want to give that probably to a Gamecock fan. He's probably reaching out. He's probably screaming to the Sooner fans. He wants to give that free one too. But again, guys, we're giving away free tickets tonight. We got Damion Square coming on. We got Chip Brown come talk. We're giving away free tickets to the Oklahoma-South Carolina game, guys. Thanks to our guys, Odds the Gray. Hans the Gray again says a little late tonight, Dave. What did I miss the first 30 minutes? Oh, you missed a couple of previews. Just to get off the bat for our guy Chip joins us. I talked a little Auburn at Mizzou. I went Auburn. Just like Auburn's going to play well this weekend. They're due coming off the bye week. Think Missouri's a little fraudulent. I think it's a big Jarquez Hunter day. I picked Auburn there. South Carolina at Oklahoma. I am sorry, Hans the Great. I picked South Carolina. I trust their offense right now. I have no confidence in Oklahoma right now. Not totally confident in that. There's a reason why Oklahoma's favored. That line has gone down. I think we see a little Jackson Arnold. I don't know why we didn't see him last week in Dallas at Red River. But I think if it's not going well with Michael Hawkins, and Brent Venables has came out and said Michael Hawkins is getting the start this week against another really good defense that they saw in Texas last week. It's another really good South Carolina defense, especially on the defensive line with the sack leader in the SEC and Kyle Kennard and a really good true freshman in Dylan Stewart. And also you got guys on the interior, Tonka Hemingway, Alex Huntley, guys like that. TJ Sanders done a really good job as well. Saban's butt plug GBO, go Big Orange. Sorry I'm late, just got home. He's expecting a big win against the Gumps this week. If Tennessee is winning late, who does FanDuel have for kicking the ball after the spot? Hans the Great. I lost my grandfather mentor second quarter of Red River. Still managed to sit in the Cotton Bowl. Sorry for the family loss there, Hans. I appreciate you listening, man. Prayers up for your family, and appreciate you offering the free ticket this week, brother. But Chip should be joining us again any minute. I don't want to get into it. I got a couple of the other previews I got to get to, but I don't want to get into it in the midst of us rolling into this one. What other previews we got here? We got Oklahoma. We already did that one. We got Chip about to roll in here. Yeah, we did LSU. So, yeah, we got Florida, Kentucky left. We'll briefly just talk about this one real quick before Chip gets in here. Let's bring up the banner. We got Ball State at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt favored by 26.5, 57.5. I mean, wouldn't this be right up Vandy's alley to lose? I don't think it's going to happen. Ball State is not a very good football team. I just don't really see Vanderbilt handle this. Again, it could be a total look-ahead game where, hey, if Texas wins this week, you heard it here first. I think it's real. Vanderbilt could be hosting College Game Day with Texas heading into Nashville next week. You don't want to be looking too far ahead. Vanderbilt will get another chance to knock off a number one team, especially if Texas handles business against Georgia at home at DKR this week. There's not a lot to break down in this game. Vanderbilt's the better football team until someone gets out an early lead on Vanderbilt. Guys, how you beat Vanderbilt right now, I think you have to go – if I'm at the coin toss and I win the coin toss against Vanderbilt, I'm taking the football and I'm going to go try to score. I'm going to try to go get up 7-0, 10-0, 14-0. Get them out of their game. Don't let them go control this game. That's what they've been doing against teams against like Alabama and Kentucky. And first of all, what an impressive, mature win by Clark Lee last week. Going into Kentucky, everything against them. So many distractions. Kentucky off a bye week. Good Kentucky defense. That was an impressive win by Clark Lee. I know probably Brian, forgot to look who even won SEC Coach of the Week this past week. Probably Brian Kelly, but I think it could have been Clark Lee, dude, just from that psychological standpoint of getting over that one. Not much to preview in this one. Vanderbilt should handle business. Again, just kind of a real look-ahead spot. I don't know if they cover it. They're probably not going to show a lot either, but they kind of just do what they do. Again, me and D Square talked about it. Me and Damion Square talked about it. Most complimentary football team in the SEC right now, Vanderbilt. But let's get to our guy, Chip Brown, joining us from Horns 247. Our guy, what's going on, Chip?
Dave, how you doing, man?
Dude, I'm fired up you're here, man. I have two fantastic guests now. We had former Alabama player Damion Square on earlier. Now I got you on here, guys. Again, Chip Brown joining us, insider at Horns 247. He's also on a show every day with Zay Collier on Texas Sports Unfiltered from 1 to 3 p.m. Central. Go give him the follow at Chip Brown 247. Chip, how's everything? What's the vibe in Austin right now? We got a lot going on. We got Texas, Oklahoma on Saturday, and if you're into the car racing stuff, you got Formula One in town as well? There you have it, right there.
I'll be there.
You going on Sunday?
Oh yeah.
What is it, downtown?
No, so it's kind of out. It's about 20 minutes past the airport, south of town. Big old piece of property. Take the tollway out there. It's not well. Yeah, it's terrible getting in and out of there. I mean, 400,000 people.
Yeah.
Gosh, two years ago, I think it took us 3 hours to get out of the parking lot. It was terrible. Now they've got better traffic flow, more cops, all that. But it is a once in a lifetime.
I've never been.
See those, Formula One cars going 200 miles an hour, tight turns, especially in a competitive championship race where you've got, Lando Norris and McLaren kind of making a move on Red Bull and Verstappen. So,
see, you're more well versed in the Formula One. I just know it's going because I knew it was going to be a madhouse in Austin this weekend.
Well, if you watch that Netflix series Drive to Survive, it'll pull you in.
So you recommend going to watch that? You'll get into it.
Yeah, watch the Netflix, because you realize, like, if you just come across it on TV, you're like, this is so boring. But then you realize all it's a male soap opera, because you've got all these ego-driven drivers. There's 2 on each team. Some of the number 2s think they're better than the number 1s. It's all the stuff that, college football depth chart drama gives you. So it's good.
All right, Chip, let's get to this game. I know you've been talking about it all week. Again, we talked about madhouse in Austin this week, Formula One racing. I mean, arguably, potentially the biggest game in college football this season so far. First real big home game for Texas in a new conference. What is the perception-wise of how big of a game is this, you think, just specifically for Sark?
Well, I think it's the biggest game in Texas football in the last 50 years, because there's a lot at stake here, Dave. I want to get your thought on this.
Yeah.
You've got really the 2 preeminent top end, the 2 highest or most successful former Saban assistants who they know the blueprint. They were part of it. They know what it takes. Kirby's won 2 already. And you got Sarkisian, who hasn't won any, but he said, quote, "I'm borderline obsessed with winning a national championship. And if I get 1, I'm going to want 2.
Yeah.
And so this is a guy who's got that laser focus. And the thing that I think he also has, Dave, is a real culture in his program. Like, I just think that his crash and burn at USC becomes this culture starter for him. He does these things called Culture Wednesdays during the summer, where he has all the players, they go into a different group every Wednesday until every player on the team has told his story to every other player and every other coach on the team. And Sark starts it off, and he starts talking about how I had it all and then I didn't, and no one wanted to talk to me, and I effed it up all by myself. And his players are like, and now his son is on the team, and that starts the conversation. And I know this sounds hokey and campfire-ish, but I think these guys have a real bond. Like, in the age of NIL, in the transfer portal, I think developing any kind of bond that would hold players to a program, or keep them all moving in the same direction, is becoming increasingly harder by the day, because NIL money's going up. We don't know what it's going to look like once the rev share comes in. I'm sure it's going to go down, but right now it's get it while you can. There's some crazy money out there. I mean, Nigeri Kennedy, a pitcher at Stanford, is getting $1 million, $500,000 per year for her final 2 years of eligibility at Texas Tech. When was the last time you saw a Texas Tech softball game?
God, how many games will that kid at Stanford even pitch, if you want to be honest?
But she wants the money.
Yeah.
And good for her. If that's what's important and it's good for her family and Tech's willing to pay it, great. I doubt it'll be there in 2026 when schools have to come up with $22 million to share revenue with all their student athletes. There's going to be a select few or some crazy booster that's willing to, spend like crazy maybe on a player who the rest of the college world is like, yeah, you can you can take that one, you know?
To your point about Sark's culture, I think you're 100% right. I thought a little bit about that when I was doing kind of my preseason predictions. I think they had a lot of continuity back. I mean, I know they lost to Mondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, but I'm talking about even the coaches as well. I mean, obviously Sark, then you got Kyle Flood, AJ Milwee, you got PK, Pete Kwiatkowski coming in, you got Jeff Banks, the special coordinator. There's a lot of like familiarity. Blake Gideon's back. I mean, did they lose a single coach outside of Bo Davis last year?
They lost Jeff Choate, who became the head coach at Nevada.
That's right.
And they lost Bo Davis to LSU.
But for the most part, comparatively to most programs, I mean, you had all three coordinators back.
Right.
So I'm with you. That was key. And you had a lot of key guys back in the offensive line.
Here's the craziest thing, and it's almost like some weird stuff is going on. But Pete Kwiatkowski doesn't want to be a head coach. So as long as he's happy and stimulated and getting players, he's going to stay there. Jeff Banks would be the head coach at Washington State right now. But that crazy story about the monkey, the pole assassin got out. And I love her. I think she's fantastic. And the pole assassin thing, she teaches pole dancing. I mean, she's not a stripper.
Yeah.
But she teaches pole dancing.
No, I work with Banks at A&M, and so I still talk to him every now and then. But no, I've never met his girlfriend. But no,
I mean, you may know more than I do.
Yeah.
From what I've been told, you know, she's not a stripper. She's it's an athletic thing, this pole dancing, whatever. So anyway, Washington State, who was going to hire Jeff Banks, former punter at Washington State on the Ryan Leaf Rose Bowl team, the most celebrated Washington State team in the last 100 years.
You got Mike Price.
Well, Mike Price was there.
He wasn't there at the end, though, was he?
No, they were getting rid of Rolovich because he wouldn't get the vaccine.
That was it, yeah.
And so they fired him. And, you know, they were like looking at Jeff Banks, and then the Monkey Gate thing breaks out, and they're like, oh, okay. So the guy's a totally capable head coach.
Yeah.
He would be a fantastic head coach. And then I think now, I don't know when it wears off that it's okay to hire Jeff Banks. Maybe they're like, you still dating the polls? Are you with the, I know. And then, so, okay, that keeps him at Texas. They're paying him great money. He's a great coach. Players love him. Great recruiter. So to your point, Dave, you got all the coordinators. Kyle Flood's not going anywhere without Sark.
Yeah.
They were at the Falcons together. Sark brought Kyle Flood to Alabama. Saban didn't care that Sark was taking Flood with him. He didn't care that Milwee was going. Milwee was already going to South Alabama as OC for Kane Womack. Saban was pissed that Sark went after Jeff Banks. And I think Sark was going to take Pete Golding too, because I think Saban kind of wanted Golding out.
Yeah.
But I think Saban wanted Lanning, and then Lanning ends up getting a head coaching job. And so Saban keeps Golding, but Sark got Banks, Flood, and Milwee. So, you know, he gets three assistants who know what it looks like to win a national championship at Alabama 2020. And you're right. He's got continuity on his staff, and he knows how fragile that culture thing is, and it doesn't always get passed from one team to the next. I think he feels like it got passed with this group.
Chip, probably a little too early to ask you this, but I just want your opinion. On today, October 17th, would you say this 2024 Longhorn team is better than last year's team?
Yes. Yes. Because they don't have Jonathan Brooks, but maybe they have Jonathan Brooks light in Quintravian Wisner. Quinn Ewers, money at Alabama last year, money at Michigan. Like, he was fantastic at Michigan. That place was coming apart, and he was oblivious to it. I expect him to be elite Quinn Ewers again Saturday night. The offensive line is a year better. Cam Williams is better than Christian Jones. His NFL stock is rising. He's a behemoth. And then defensively, they lost Devondre Sweat and they lost Byron Murphy. But I got to give some love to Kenny Baker, the new defensive tackles coach, because he's gotten awesome play out of Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, and Jermaine Lole. And in last game, Bill Norton, who was at Georgia for 3 years behind Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, and Jalen Carter. Finally, he's like, I'll go to Arizona. Helps turn that run defense around. And now he's going to be up against his old mates here Saturday night. So I think they're good on the interior, the defensive line, and the pass rush. I don't get this whole Trey Moore thing. Like, he had 14.5 sacks at UTSA. I had people tell me he never did a thing against a Power 4 team, and he didn't, and he still hasn't. Like, he's got more reps than any defensive end on the team, and he sucks. I mean, not sucks, but he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, Colin Simmons, the 5-star freshman, has 6 sacks, or 6 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. The guy's got quarterback pressures kind of coming out of his yin yang. And then, Ethan Burke, sack, pick 6, PBU. He's got an 83-inch wingspan. He just drives tackles backwards into the quarterback. He's like Max Crosby. And then you've got Colton Vasek, who's played like 86 snaps and has more. He has 2 sacks, tackles for loss. Trey Moore has a half of a tackle for loss in 6 games. Like, what are they paying this guy?
You're right. You'd love to know what he's making. Like you said, it's got to be a pretty penny offensive action last year.
And I'm like, hey, Sark, how's Trey Moore doing? Like, I mean, and it's like Sark's like, he's doing great. And you're like, no, he's not. He spins out of his gap against the run. Like, the guy looks overwhelmed. I mean, he doesn't even look like he believes he's the best player. So, but believe it or not, all those other guys are good enough. They have 11 sacks and 22 tackles for loss in their last 2 games. They sacked Michael Van Buren 6 times. Georgia didn't sack him once. So, and then at linebacker, Anthony Hill Jr., they just inserted Leonga Lafau at middle linebacker, first time against OU, so that they could free up Anthony Hill to move around, play weak side, play strong side, rush off the edge, pick gaps. 11 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble for Anthony Hill Jr. in his first game, getting to, move around and be a total disruptor. If that's the return on investment for inserting Leonga Lafau at middle so you can move Anthony Hill over. Remember Harold Perkins, his freshman year? They just had him rush, see ball, hit ball. And everyone loved it because he's so athletic. He's so good. He dips his shoulder. He gets there. And then sophomore year, he plays middle linebacker. He had a good year. But middle linebacker, you gotta control the A and B gaps on that. And
it's more instinctual than just playing out there on the edge and in space. Yeah.
Right. And you got to drop. And I mean, there's a lot going on at middle. Whereas if the guy's that good of a pass rusher, maybe he should just be a pass rusher. And in this case, I think, they feel like Anthony Hill is so fast. He's a total, eraser of mistakes because of his speed. Like, Pete Kwiatkowski told him last year, he's like, you're a hell of a football player, but you're a terrible linebacker. And he meant it as a compliment, because Hill was just so, let me go get it.
Yeah.
And so he plays the first 6 games at middle linebacker where you got to be disciplined. You got to, everything. You're communicating. You're wearing the helmet, blah, blah, blah. Got to drop. It's, not a great pass dropper. So now they bring in Leonga Lafau, who's played middle linebacker his whole life. Jeff Choate told me he's an elite pass dropping middle linebacker. Now you got Anthony Hill running all over the place. And Dave, you watch the SEC. He's got to be the fastest linebacker in the league.
Yeah, he's for sure in that conversation. No, you're 100% right. Chip, is there any way we've been talking about the front 7? Are you 100%? Maybe not 100%. I don't really think it's fair to ask you that. Are you sold on the secondary yet? Or you really be like, I could see them get a little exposed this week potentially? So
this is what I'm really most intrigued by. I think Texas's pass rush is real. I think their run defense is real. I think their pass defense is a ton better And here's why. And you're going to think again, God, this Chip guy, he's like all into this ethereal, bond, brotherhood stuff. So Michael Taff, Jade Barron, Andrew Makuba, they all went to different high schools in Austin, but they all trained together under this guy named Bam Blake. He's a DB trainer in Austin. He's put, so many dudes who've gone on to D1. Well, so Makuba went to LBJ, Barron went to Pflugerville Connolly, Taff went to Westlake, but they all trained with this guy. And Taff had no offers. Barron's got offers, Makuba's got offers, but they all go to these workouts, and Taff is the one who's working his ass off, pushing everybody, outworking everybody. And, Barron and Makuba are like, who is this guy? But then they realize he's doing it because he doesn't have an offer, and he's trying to get right. He's trying to, go to a camp and impress somebody. He gets a preferred walk-on offer from Rice and some Ivy Leagues. And he's like, you know what? I want to go to Texas. I'm just going to bet on myself. Pays his own way, goes to Texas, walks on. No preferred walk-on. But it's his dream, and he works his butt off. So they beat Michigan, and Barron, has a, fumble recovery, I think, in that game. Taft played great, and Makuba played great. Makuba was everywhere. Johnny Barron's almost in tears about being on the field with these three guys together and how much it means to Taft. And I'm going, what is this? Then I found out all this stuff about how they trained together and COVID. They were in COVID and they were getting busted at places where they couldn't, where they weren't maintaining 6 feet of social distance. And so they'd go from Georgetown to Leander. They'd go find a field and keep going. And I swear, Dave, the communication in the secondary has been garbage up until this year. And now it's boom, boom, boom. It's like Michigan last year. Like when you watched Michigan, they just like instinctively, they just move. Okay.
It's one of those guys that played a lot of football together, and that's what you're insinuating with this. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Jim, you were giving yourself hell for saying that, but we know Texas is talented. There's a lot of talented teams up there. But you're right. When you're competing for a SEC championship, a national championship like Texas is now, that's the little stuff. It's like you said, it's going to separate you from the other core group of teams that are competing for the same stuff you are. Again, I think you're 100% right. And that stuff does matter. The little culture stuff that you can still, again, it's hard. So you said you don't have the seniors anymore that are like, hey, man, we're setting the standard. We remember the freshmen. We remember the workouts as freshmen. We've all been here together a little bit. And Damion Square earlier was talking about coming in with that class with Mark Barron, Mark Ingram, Julio Jones, how they set the foundation in Alabama. You don't have that as much anymore. But like you said, that's phenomenal to hear. I remember Makuba. I used to get on the phone with Makuba when we were at A&M a little bit. Like, again, he never really considered us, went to Clemson because I think he liked Venables a lot and thought they could really develop him. And then I saw this offseason, he said he transferred, obviously probably because he wants to get back home and play with his boys, but he said he thought the lack of development was a little lacking there, I guess, ever since Venables.
Yeah, and he said that they were, playing him more at nickel, and he felt more comfortable at safety. And so he was like, you know what? Let me go play with my boys and play safety. He's been really good. He's been really good. Now, losing Derek Williams for the year is big. That guy's he is a star. The fact that he had an interception against Michigan, had the forced fumble and recovery against OU. Makuba came in, and they've started Taff and Makuba, I think, because of that communication. Derek Williams is going to be a star, and Jelani McDonald is the guy his reps are going to go up. He is a beast. His dad, LaMarcus, played for Patterson at TCU. Gotcha. Linebacker, all Mountain West, savage guy. And Patterson told me, watch out for Jelani, because he's like, I've watched this kid. He's 6'2". He will knock your brains in, but he's good. He's good in space. He's got ball skills. So I think they've got guys ready. Like, they've got corners that I'm excited about, like Wardell Mack and Warren Roberson. They can't get on the field. And those guys are playmakers. Like, I don't know how Sark's going to be able to hold those guys from the portal. You know, and Jahdae Barron is awesome. He's a senior, so he's going to be gone. There's going to be opportunity. Malik Muhammad is probably going to be all SEC soon. And so I think the secondary is legit. Now, they haven't played anybody. I mean, the quarterbacks.
You can make the case ULM's the best team they probably faced in a vertical passing game so far. I mean, ULM's 5-1 right now, so that's not shabby. But you just wouldn't think about that. But
the quarterback who, yeah.
No, go ahead. I was gonna move.
It's hard to tell who the best quarterback is they faced.
So Chip, this one, Georgia at Texas, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, ABC. Texas favored by 5, point total 56.5. What does Texas, in your opinion, have to do to win this game? Just one thing. What do you think they have to do to win this game?
I mean, I think they have to get pressure on Carson Beck, and I think they will. I think you get him disrupted. They're toast.
If I told you they lost the game, what if you had to guess why? What's the reason?
Quinn wasn't right. Turnovers, maybe some big plays given up in the back end.
Yeah, I know. I would agree with you. So you're pretty confident Texas gets it done this week.
I do, because I just don't think they have weaknesses, and I think they think they're the best team in the country.
I mean, right now, Chip, I'd have to agree with them. Again, it's like you said, they hadn't really the secondary hadn't been tested. I feel like that's kind of the only question it still remains. But overall, though, man, I would have to agree with you across the board there on that one.
Dylan Gabriel got him last year, and Michael Penix got him. Penix was outstanding that night. He couldn't miss. Dylan Gabriel, I love that kid. That kid is such a warrior. I mean, I'm hoping he goes to New York, and depending on what Oregon does, wins it. You know, I mean, that kid, all he's ever done is win. Goes to UCF, sets records.
I was with him at UCF is last year there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you tell me, Dave, what you like him? I mean, what do you like his makeup?
No, yeah, I like Dylan's makeup. You can tell Dylan's more that distributor, almost like a point guard standpoint. He fits that kind of Heupel, like with where Levy was the OC there when Heupel and then we're with him is that. So he fits that kind of comfort. He's got to get the ball quick out of his hands. But no, he's a really good kid. People kind of gravitate towards him. I know the receivers always loved him. He's the guy now. I think it's always buying guys gifts and stuff from an NIL perspective. But no, I mean, I like DJ. He's a good kid.
And he ran. Like, he ran for 113 yards against Texas.
Athlete. No, he is. He's got good pocket awareness.
Yeah, he beat him with his legs. He did it.
Chip, before we get you out of here, again, guys, Chip Brown from Horns 247. Go give him the follow. Chip Brown 247. Chip, give us one last under the radar matchup to keep an eye on in this one on Saturday night.
One last under the radar matchup. Okay, Ryan Wingo, freshman receiver.
Yeah,
dude is an animal. All he does is create explosive plays. Last week he had a 44-yard catch and run. He had a 25-yard end around on the ground. He had a 55-yard end around against Michigan. Those were the only rushing yards that were real. Like, no one else could budge on that Michigan run defense. So I think this is a game for Ryan Wingo because he's big. He can go up against, Malachi Starks. He's not going to be intimidated. He'll go up for that 50-50 ball. I think this kid's the next big thing. I mean, I know Ryan Williams, but Ryan Wingo too.
I'm not a big fan of Georgia's star this year, the nickel, the Jonel Aguero kid. I think there's going to be a lot of plays to be had there. I'm sure Sark's watching all week. He understands that.
That's the thing.
Isaiah Bond's going to be back, right? Isaiah Bond will be back.
Isaiah Bond. Yeah, he's going to play. Yeah.
Chip,
and
dude, I know
it
was date night for you, brother. I didn't want to interrupt you and the missus with date night, but I appreciate you taking the time this evening. I'll be sure to tune in tomorrow. You and Zay, baby.
Hey, Dave Shoemate, you're the best. Always love the conversation.
Well, dude, I appreciate you guys. Chip Brown, Horns 247. Go give him the follow. at Chip Brown 247. You can also catch him on the Texas Sports Unfiltered channel daily, 1 to 3 p.m. Central with our boy Zay Collier. Chip, I appreciate you, brother. Tell the missus hello and appreciate her letting you get out of the cage tonight. Come join us.
You got it. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, Chip Brown does a phenomenal job covering Texas. That's who I go follow. I highly encourage you to go check out Chip Brown stuff. They do a good job. Let's get into some of these comments. We got 3 more games to preview. Then it is money making weekend. About 8 guys. I couldn't get in the double digits that I liked. Let's go back, look at a couple of these comments. Again, Ons the Gray, Texas can't stop offense is ranked higher than 100. Texas is a fraud. UT Bad Gumps, they took foot off gas against OU, and they've been off ever since. They get in a rhythm. Spurs then falls out again. The offensive tackles are both playing a part. Our boy Bad Gumps talked about the balls there. Ons the Gray says, Moran's a big Oklahoma fan, folks. I can handle the Tennessee Orange, but I'll never have anything positive to say for the Burn Orange. They can win the Natty, and I'll find something negative to say about them. Bags, Dodge set the standard at Gumpville. He's talking about Alabama. Henry committed to the leg humper, switches to Gumps, and has a beautiful challenge. Talking about Henry Ruggs there. UT Bags says he's taking Georgia to win. SEC looks crazy strong. Any team, any week can win except Florida or Mississippi State unless they play each other. When Vandy beats Gumps, then beats Kentucky, the world is crazy. OU should have kept him. Not sure what the F they were thinking. Talking about Dylan Gabriel, I assume. Ons the Gray, appreciate the compliment. Dave is the best. That's why we come. Appreciate you listening, brother. Great stuff as always. Colin vibes from Chip. Yep, Chip does a great job. I didn't agree with the Texas guy, just for the record. Ons again. Is this Chip that is Rocky Bob's old lady's dad? I don't get that reference there. UT Bags, I'm with Ons, and Ons the Gray. Just know, Dave, me and T-Bag have common ground in USC, hence why we always end up in combos here. You're right. Y'all are 2 loyal listeners. I appreciate y'all. Before we get to the 2 big previews, I haven't gotten to the Florida. Let's go to the banners. Let me get the banners up for you. Let's go Florida at Kentucky. Kentucky currently favored by 1.5 point total, 42.5, setting the tone. What are we going to expect in Gainesville this week, folks? I literally have no clue what to expect. I know DJ Lagway is going to be starting with Graham Mertz being out with the ACL injury for the year. Prayers up for Graham Mertz there. Kind of exciting, I guess, if you're a Florida fan. Get to see the future with DJ Lagway. Can Kentucky bounce back from a disappointing performance against Vanderbilt? You could tell post-game Mark Stoops was very disappointed. I think he thought he liked the spot they were in. And I don't blame him. I picked Kentucky to beat Vanderbilt. I was the only guy on the SEC Unfiltered channel too. I thought it was going to be hard for Clark Lee to get his guys right heading into Kroger Field against a Kentucky team that's good on defense, that I think is better than Alabama still, off a bye week. Again, I would have given Clark Lee SEC Coach of the Week last week, back-to-back weeks. But Stoops is very upset, thought his team did not play assignment sound football. Florida, could this be Billy Napier's last loss? Remember, they have a bye week next week. Then they go to Jacksonville to play Georgia. If you're going to fire Billy Napier, if they lose to Kentucky, this is the Sunday to do it. I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but this could be Billy Napier's last game in Gainesville, folks. It's not getting talked about a lot. I think a lot of people have already assumed he's going to lose his job. It's a matter of if, not when. I'm in that party too, but I don't want to talk about Billy Napier getting fired, but this could be it. But what's going on? Path to victory for Kentucky. You got to limit the penalties. The penalties killed them. I think they had 12 against Vanderbilt. That's not going to get it done against a disciplined Vanderbilt team who does not beat themselves. I think you got to go establish the run just to feel that I don't think Florida can play the way they played against Tennessee 2 weeks in a row. And again, Tennessee gave them some breaks with the fumbles on the first possession between Nico and the running back. I think some of that wasn't forced. That was on Tennessee. That's a path to victory for 2 paths to victory for Kentucky. For Florida, path to victory. DJ Lagway going up against the veteran Kentucky D. I think it's going to be a tough early test. Best corner, Maxwell Hairston for Kentucky, out again. He was out against Ole Miss, though, and Kentucky pulled it out. But if I'm Billy Napier, what the hell do you have to lose, folks? Be aggressive. Call some shots. You literally have nothing to lose. You could not be the head guy at the University of Florida on Sunday if you aren't pulling out all the stops. Be creative. Throw some new wrinkles. You have nothing to lose. But with that being said, in a freshman's first start against Mark Stoops and Brad White defense, I just think Lagway, I like the upside side of DJ Lagway. I just don't see him getting it done against this defense. I think Kentucky's going to be a little more interested. It's more important for them. They got to have it to get to a bowl game. I think they throw some wrinkles. I think Lagway makes some few mistakes. I think he's going to make some plays too. Give me Kentucky 24-14, double-digit win. I'm going to call it right now. I think Billy Napier gets fired on Sunday. Hate to be not morbid, but just kind of negative about that. I just think it happens. I like DJ Lagway a lot. I just don't think he gets it done against this type of defense. Moving on to the two big ones. Alabama at Tennessee. 3:30 p.m. Central Standard or Eastern Standard Time Zone on ABC. I think it's Greg McElroy on the call, and I forget who else. Who's the play-by-play guy with him? Sean McDonough. That's it. They're on ABC. Alabama favored by 3 right now. Point total 56.5, setting the tone. Kalen DeBoer rolls into Knoxville to experience his first third Saturday in October. Excuse me, got a little bit of a cold. First Saturday in October game. The atmosphere in Knoxville 2 years ago was unbelievable. Hell, my father-in-law, my in-laws are big Tennessee people. My brother-in-law was at this game 2 years ago. He brought back some of that grass. It's still growing in my father-in-law's backyard right now, about 20 minutes from me. He's still growing that. That's how important that game was. They hadn't won it in 15 years. Bama's won 17 in the last 18. You better get your stogies ready for this one. But specifically to this game on Saturday, I see a lot of people saying that they think this is a playoff elimination game. I'm not going to go that far because the loser of this could still finish 10-2. But it's definitely an SEC championship game, elimination game in regards to playing in Atlanta. You both have 2 conference losses. I think you're out of it at that point. Both teams have not been at their best so far, and I think that's fair. Can Nico deliver on some deep shots vertically that I think are going to be there with Josh Heupel? They're going to be there. He's going to scheme them up. Can he take advantage of it, man? Can a beat-up Tennessee wide receiver core? Squirrel White, Brew McCoy, they're all banged up a little bit. Brazzell has some nitpicky stuff. Can they step up? Can Chaz Nimrod play a little better? Do you see a little of Caleb Webb? Do you see the true freshman Mike Matthews at all? The shots are going to be there against an inexperienced Alabama secondary on the road. Can Nico take advantage of it? From an Alabama perspective, can Alabama's defense bow up on third down? You heard Damion Square talk about it. They have to get better on getting off the field on third and fourth down. You have to go win those down. Those are money downs, as we called it, from the people who worked in football. Also on offense, does Alabama continue to put so much pressure on Jalen Milroe to win the game? We talked about with D Square again. I think you kind of could easily make the case Alabama has the best running back duo in Jam Miller and Justice Haynes in the league. And Jalen Milroe had 18 carries, I think, to their combined between both of them, 12 carries. That's not winning football. You got to establish some kind of ground game in between the tackles. Do we see a run game like that? Also, factoring in, I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Chris clipped my from me talking about on the Alabama-Tennessee preview. I encourage you to go check it out on YouTube. Talking about the Keenan Pili injury, the BYU transfer. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL. He's out again. Prayers up for him and his family. He's out back-to-back years. He was the communicator, green dot guy on the back of the helmet that talks to Tim Banks before the plays. He's out. Jeremiah Telander, you're up next. Jalen Smith, from Grayson High School in Atlanta, you're up next. I think Arian Carter can get the job done. Have some questions right now with the Tennessee second level. How does Nick Sheridan, Kalen DeBoer go attack that? That's important with Jalen Milroe in this running game in between the tackles. A lot of question marks, a lot of unknowns heading into this one, but it's a big one. Nonetheless, what's going to happen? Path to victory. First, Alabama's path to victory. I think you got to sell out on Tennessee's run and play zone and make Nico prove he can beat you. He may do it. I think for Nico, it's not a matter of if, but when. The light's going to turn on for him at some point. Is it this week? I don't know. But if I'm Alabama, look, you're going to give up some explosive plays at some point in this game. You got to limit them. Got to be good on third and fourth down. But Dylan Sampson and them are not going to go run it down my throat and win this game. I think you have to take that away and be like, hey, Nico's not playing well. It's a big game. Could the lights be a little too big for him? I think you got to sell it to stop the run first. On offense, if I'm Alabama, you got to be explosive, but you also have to factor in that run game because of that linebacker Keenan Pili being out at the second level. He's one of the leaders on that Tennessee defense. I actually think it hurts Tennessee's ultimate ceiling. Doesn't mean they won't make the playoffs. Ultimately, from a championship contending standpoint, that hurt Tennessee. I think the higher the score, the more it favors Alabama. Go look at Kalen DeBoer in his career, going back to Fresno State and even his days at Washington. In those big games against Oregon the last few years, against Dan Lanning and them in the Pac-12 championship game, regular season game, against Sark and them in Texas and the Alamo Bowl, he likes the high-scoring games. In the Sugar Bowl last year against Texas, The higher scoring the game, I think this benefits Alabama. For Tennessee, path to victory. Can Nico stay collected in this game and make plays that'll certainly be there? I trust Heupel. I trust him drawing this up against an inexperienced Alabama secondary. Remember, Alabama only has 6 scholarship corners. That's a low number in general when you're planning rosters like I used to. 3 of them, true freshmen. On a defensive standpoint, Tim Banks, you need to pressure Jalen Milroe on the A-gaps. Get him going vertically. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. Now, granted, he's thrown a few the last 2 against Vanderbilt and South Carolina. But Jalen Milroe, when you get pressure vertically, he likes to drop back 13, 14 yards. Go check out the safety, the intentional grounding right before the half against South Carolina last week. They got the ball on the 13 or 14. He dropped back that far and took a safety, the intentional grounding that gave. He took a safety off the intentional grounding. He'll make bad plays and lose plays like that. He'll get them in 2nd and 4, and it'll be 3rd and 18, lost it down for you know it. If I'm Tim Banks, I'm attacking Jalen Milroe through the A-gap. If he gets out of the pocket, that's where he's going to do his damage, but I think you keep him in from the inside out. Now, prediction. I don't really trust either team right now. But I do trust that Neyland Stadium will be rocking and will give Alabama some offense, them some trouble sometimes. I expect some penalties. I don't know if it'll be 22 penalties like Alabama had, 2 years ago, right? Wasn't it 22? 2022, Alabama versus Tennessee. Was it 17 or 22 penalties Alabama had that game? It was some ridiculous number. Let's see. I'm pulling it up now. Alabama had 17 penalties for 130 yards in that one. I don't know if we're going to go that high, but I do anticipate some penalties for Alabama. If this game were in Tuscaloosa, I lean Alabama. But with it being in Knoxville, I think Tennessee gets the job done. I hate to say that. I predicted Tennessee in the preview video. Again, go check it out on YouTube. Myself and Chris Phillips did it. I don't think Alabama's capable right now of taking the show on the road in a hostile environment and winning a game against another good team. Give me Tennessee, 37-30. I think it's going to be a higher score in a game. I kind of like the over in this one a little bit of 56.5. I think Tennessee gets it done. It'll be a lot of smoke in Neyland. Again, the bet I like in this one, I wouldn't touch this one point-wise. Again, Bama favored by 3, but I do kind of like the point total over in this one. Let's check out the comments. Let's see how pissed some people are. UT Bags, boo Greg McSaban calling the game. I'm sure he can leave his bias at the door. He actually isn't really biased against Alabama bad gums. Alabama fans aren't even real big fans of Greg McElroy. Speaking of green dot, onto the gray. Why doesn't Oklahoma put on Casey's helmet and try to see what experience he can do for a change? UT Bag speed on the line and Tennessee defense is good. 17. We're talking about the penalties, yeah. With several that didn't get called, they were holding. Yeah, it goes both ways. DeBoer is an NAIA coach. He might be in over his head. He moved D1 schools after each year. Gator Boy says, go Gators, and couldn't agree more. Yeah, if this game was in Tuscaloosa, I don't know if Nico could get the job done. I just don't trust this Alabama team across the board right now. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Would it shock me if Alabama won? Absolutely not. Wouldn't be shocked in the least. I just think if you're going to make me pick here, I just feel Tennessee at home gets the job done, 37-30. Now, for the nightcap, the big one. Georgia at Texas, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. This is the Fowler-Herb Street game. Texas -5, 56.5. College game days there. We just had Chip join us. Formula One racing on Sunday if you're into that. Set the tone specifically for this game. Massive weekend in Austin, like I mentioned. Georgia, Texas on Saturday. F1 race on Sunday. Georgia coming into town in somewhat of a must-win situation. Not from a playoff standpoint, but from an SEC championship standpoint. They're banged up. They have been all year. Even go back to fall camp. Defense is not playing up to standard. This would be one of Kirby Smart's most impressive wins in his career, in my opinion. And this guy's won 2 national championships. Texas and Sark rolling, looking like the best team in the SEC in the country right now. But the face of the league over the past 3 seasons rolls into town, and they're desperate. The Georgia Bulldogs. I trust Sark taking advantage of a somewhat underwhelming Georgia defense. But is this Texas defense? Is it that improved? Again, the best offense they probably faced all year. ULM, granted, ULM's 5-1, but still, they haven't faced a real quarterback yet. But what's going to happen? Path to victory for Georgia. I think you got to go bombs over Baghdad. Go test that Texas secondary. Again, Chip likes the cohesiveness of that unit on the back end. There are a bunch of Austin kids that have came together. They trained together to unite. This is what they're here for. You need a quick start offensively, though, if you're Georgia, because outside of the Mississippi State game, against Clemson, you scored 6. Kentucky on the road, you scored 3 in the first half. Against Bama, you scored 7. Outside of the Mississippi State game, who's probably the worst team in the SEC, no offense, You haven't been great offensively, Mike Bobo and Carson back in the first half. That can't happen if you want to have a chance. Defensively, you have to keep plays in front of you. You can't be letting the deep crossers that Sark likes to run. Again, they're going to try. I don't like the nickel of Jonel Aguero from Texas right now. I mean, from Georgia right now. I think Sark and them see that as well. They have some plays to take advantage of. But if you're Georgia this year, you have major holes, but you can't let them get behind you this week. Texas, path to victory, survive the initial storm. I actually think Georgia's going to come out playing well. I think they're going to show you some stuff they haven't seen. I don't think they start slow. Could be wrong. I don't think they start slow. I think defensively, this is a game. This is a Baron Sorrell, Ethan Berg. You heard Chip mention 80-inch wingspan, pass rusher off the edge, true freshman, Colin Simmons. Maybe this is a Trey Moore game. He hadn't really done much yet. The UTSA game transfer, hadn't done anything else. I think Anthony Hill, who Chip brought up, could be a big blitzer in the A-gap. Those are these type of games. I think it's going to be close initially, but I think ultimately the Texas offense is too much. I don't trust the Georgia defense this year. They have a bunch of holes at all three levels, and they're banged up. Give me Texas by double digits. Give me Texas 38-27. I just think they're the best team in the SEC right now. I think they're the best team in the country. B.A. Adams, all Vols, formerly Bobby. Appreciate you listening. SEC history, you already covered the big one. Third week in October, conversation over. Ons the Gray says, go Dogs. And then Ons the Gray, 7-win Sark is bound to show up at some point. All right, guys. Those were the previews. Now it's the final thing we do. Y'all know what it is. Money-making weekend. And guys, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We hold people accountable in this show. We're going to hold ourselves accountable here. It hadn't been great through 7 weeks. We're 30-44 on the season. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, I have 8 good bets for you this weekend. I actually feel pretty good about these. Again, not as many SEC games. Again, I wouldn't touch the Bama -3. I actually think the wrong team's favored in that game. I would touch maybe that over. But let's get right to it. Again, we've already gone an hour and a half. Going to the Big Ten, a couple Big Ten matchups in here. Give me Nebraska +7 at Indiana. Indiana's talent isn't great there. Again, Kurt Cignetti's done a phenomenal job there. I love the personnel staff there. Matt Wilson, Mike Ferrara, guys like that. But at some point, Indiana, they're undefeated. They're not going to – they have to drop one and not play well. I think I'm not ready to say they're going to lose, but give me Nebraska +7. Give me Matt Rule, the Fighting Rules +7 in that one. Michigan at Illinois. Give me the under 46.5. Michigan's played Texas, again, didn't test them. Not a lot of offense in this game. Luke Altmaier, the former Ole Miss backup quarterback. I don't see a lot of offense in this game. Give me the under 46.5 in Champaign. USC, Maryland, we're going the opposite here. Over 65.5. I could see Mike Locksley putting up some numbers against the Anton Lynn's defense at USC. They got a bunch of injuries. I kind of like the over in this one. Iowa, -5 at Michigan State. I think Kurt Ferentz and then get it done. And remember, those first 4, those are Big Ten matchups. I like a couple of Big Ten matchups this year more so than I do, or this week more so than I do in the SEC. Georgia Tech +12 against Notre Dame in Atlanta. Not at Bobby Dodd. This is at Mercedes-Benz. It's at Mercedes-Benz, folks. Give me the double-digit points. Probably a lot of Notre Dame people there, I'm sure, especially with being in the Benz. But I like Georgia Tech +12. I mean, if Haynes King doesn't go, all bets are off. But I'm going to roll here. Brent Key said this week he's going to play. Tough kid. Give me double-digit points at technically a home game. Georgia Tech +12 against Notre Dame. Here's 2 SEC games. South Carolina, Oklahoma, under 43.5. Don't trust any offense. Both defenses are really good. I like the under here. Clemson, -11.5 against Virginia, unless Dabo doesn't run the score up against his former assistant. I don't know, though. I mean, -11.5. That you could not even want to run the score up and still cover that, though. I like Clemson, though, -11.5 in the first half. Then the last one, SEC game, Mississippi State team total under 20.5 facing Texas A&M at home. The Texas A&M defense with Mike Elko, it's always going to be really good. Like I said, death, taxes, Mike Elko having a good defense going back to his Bowling Green days, Notre Dame days, Wake Forest, initial A&M days, Duke. Now, Mississippi State ain't scoring over 20.5. But those are the bets. Those are the 8 best bets, guys. Nebraska +7 at Indiana. I think Indiana's due for a bad one. Michigan, Illinois, under. I don't really like the offenses in this one. Michigan, Illinois, Luke Altmaier, under 46.5. USC, Maryland, going opposite. I think a lot. USC's banged up. Maryland's not good on defense. Over 65.5. Iowa, Kirk Ferentz and the boys take the show on the road. Big win, -5 at Michigan State. Georgia Tech comes down to Haynes King. Give me the double-digit points at, quote-unquote, home. against Notre Dame in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. South Carolina, Oklahoma under 43.5. I trust South Carolina's offense more. That's why I got them winning the game. I don't really trust either offense consistently. Give me the under, though. But I'm probably a little more confident I should be in this one. Defensive turnovers kind of feel like it could be big in this one. Clemson minus an 11.5 against former assistant at Virginia. Give me 11.5 in the first half, Dabo and the boys. Mississippi State, last one here, team total under against a really good Texas A&M defense. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Remember, guys, this episode is brought to you guys from Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com. Use code SECU at sign up to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 or more lineup. Guys, this was a fun-ass episode. I'll be honest with you. Check the comments one more time for a recap in it. Killing me, Dave. I know, Lines. I hate it, brother. I hate it. I just don't trust the Sooner offense right now. I don't. But I appreciate you listening, man. Prayers to your family, man. Big loss, tough loss there for as your father, I can imagine. Prayers for you, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, I'll see you on Monday. But, guys, we had a phenomenal episode. We had former Alabama player, 3-time national champion, now sideline reporter for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, Damion Square, come preview the third Saturday in October for us, talk a little Alabama, Tennessee. We had Chip Brown from Horns 247 help us preview the big weekend in Austin, Georgia, Texas. We previewed all the Big 7 games, talked even a little Vandy, Ball State. And then we gave you my best bets, my 8 best bets. It's going to get better this week, guys. Just sit tight with me. But this is my boldest week of the season, guys. I took South Carolina at Oklahoma. I took Auburn beating Missouri. I do have Tennessee beating Alabama. I took Kentucky against Florida. I took Texas by double digits over Georgia. And then I took Arkansas at home, getting LSU off the emotional win, guys. So wild weekend, boldest weekend here for your boy. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, guys. I appreciate you joining us. I'll see you on Monday.